Lynden is a very hard-working engine. However, he spent most of his life by himself on a small railway. Because of this, he doesn't know as much as the other engines. That does not make him stupid. He is simply still learning. One morning, James Clifford was talking about famous engines.
I have a brother who lives in Wales. Never met him, but apparently he's as hard working as me,
He declared. Who is the most famous engine you have met? Asked Misty. James Clifford sighed for a moment.
Just King Arthur.
He groaned.
I've yet to clap eyes on the real famous engines, such as Flying Scotsman and Mallard.
I've heard those engines are huge, remarked Peggy. Lyndon looked back at his tender. It made him bigger than the other engines on the railway. I bet neither engine is as big as mine, he assumed. Silence filled the yard. None were sure if he was being serious. James Clifford was the first to speak.
What are you talking about? Those engines are standard gauge, much larger than us,
He stated. Lyndon was a little puzzled.
What does standard gauge mean? I've heard you mention it a few times,
He replied. James Clifford struggled not to laugh, but Peggy tried to explain things clearly. Standard gauge engines have wider track than ours. We are narrow gauge, she told him. Lyndon felt a little embarrassed.
So that's why we never journey beyond this railway.
James Clifford had an idea, so spoke to his driver, who then talked to Lyndon's. Then he revealed the secret conversation.
For one day only, you will pull the red Highland and meet a standard gauge engine. I will do your job in exchange,
He arranged. Lyndon was pleased.
Thank you. You're never so kind,
He remarked.
Not being kind, just cutting you down to size. After today, you will never feel big again,
He chuckled. Lyndon backed onto the red Highland. Deep down, he was quite intrigued and eager to see just how big these mainline engines truly are. Before long, the guard blew his whistle, and they were on their way. Lyndon enjoyed the journey mostly, and it was nice to venture through a different part of the railway. He discovered a new station.
This must be where Gonda collects the miners,
He assumed,
We have one more stop before Bristol Central.
called his driver. After another stroll, he finally reached Kilkenny Station. He thought today had been a great adventure, though his final destination awaited. James Clifford had taken the Causeway train and arrived at Colt Harbour. He boasted to the passengers as they waited for the boat.
Now, obviously today is a one-off, because your usual engine is away searching for giants. Such lovely people you are, and I, the great James Clifford, have been honoured to pull your train.
The passengers were flattered. Such nice manners. Linden finally arrived at Briscoe Central. He had never seen a station as big. Looking to his right, he clapped eyes on King Arthur. The coaches seemed to stretch for miles, and his wheels were almost as tall as him. Looking down at the little engine, King Arthur chuckled.
What's all this? Green paint? On the tender? You're like a mini version of me,
he teased. Linden had never felt so small. He then watched as the mighty Titan departed the station. The chuffing sound echoed around, and Linden felt the ground vibrate by each turn of his wings. It was now time to take the loop line at the end of the yard and go home. But a man appeared on the platform and spoke to Linden's driver.
The points that lead to the station are jammed. Until they are fixed, there is no way of leaving,
he informed.
When will they be fixed?
Asked the driver.
The man sighed. It won't be any time soon, I'm afraid. Baron Starkey is trying to get hold of a workman as we speak, but so far he has came to no avail,
he said regrettably. With no choice, the driver had to move Linden to a siding at the station. Before leaving the cab, he put out the fire.
Where are you going?
Called Linden.
I've been told to go home,
he replied.
I will be back once Baron Starkey gives the green light.
Poor Linden was now alone. As the day passed by, he watched as different engines journeyed through the yard. Before long, nightfall came. Linden was very cold, and it was now obvious that his driver will not be returning until tomorrow. The station looked empty. All the hustle and bustle had ended for the day. With no company and no one to talk to, Linden thought it best to try and get some sleep. Many hours passed by, but suddenly the silence of the station was sharply interrupted by a loud, chuffing sound. Linden opened his eyes at once.
Someone's coming,
he gasped. Sure enough, a large engine approached the yard. Pulling a large train, it passed by, journeying to a destination possibly far away. Linden was shocked and very excited.
That engine looked much bigger than King Arthur. Oh, what a mighty Titan it is!
The next morning, his driver returned with good news.
The points have been mended. Once your fire is lit, we shall return home,
he announced. Without taking a breath, Linden told him all about what he saw. His driver thought for a moment.
Of course! This station is between Edinburgh and London. Every night, the Mallard passes by with its train, he said.
Lyndon could not believe it.
So you're telling me that last night I saw the mallard? The actual mallard?
When Lyndon returned to the shed, James Clifford acted surprised to see him.
We thought you grew a pair of big wheels and left us,
he teased. Lyndon laughed and told him all about the huge encounter. Biting King Arthur was overwhelming enough, even though he's quite rude. But to clap eyes on one of the famous titans, the mallard? Oh, I'm lost for words, he gasped. Misty giggled. If you hadn't swapped trains with Lyndon, you would have been the one who saw that famous engine, she teased.
No interest to me whatsoever,
he grumbled.
When you see one big engine, you've seen them all.
All the engines laughed, but James Clifford didn't say another word for the rest of the morning.